Hi, and welcome to Next Shift with Rick Wagan. Suzuki does not suck. Today, we're going to be talking about the Montreal Canadiens' four returning defensemen for the season. We're still in preseason. First game is this evening. We'll talk about Mike Matheson, Caden Gooley, Arbor Jacki, and David Savard. It looks like the top pairing will be with Mike Matheson and Caden Gooley. Caden Gooley most likely playing on the right side at just turning 22 years old. He's still in development, but the kid has tremendous skills. Skating is just incredible. He's a solid, strong, battler of the puck, and he has a strong shot, strong hockey player, high IQ. It's going to be challenging for him to play all season on the right side. I think that's, we'll see how that all plays out over the year. But, Caden can handle it if anyone can on the right side. So I look forward to seeing him flourish again for another season, another year stronger. Mike Matheson, more of a veteran defenseman at this point. He's 30 years old now. Had a pretty much a career year last season with 11 goals and 51 assists. I think there'll be some, he played 21 minutes. I think there'll be some challenge in terms of getting as much power play time as he did in last season. So the likelihood that he has as many points is probably unlikely. He'll be probably battling with our friend Lane Hudson for power play time and offensive time with the puck. However, he's obviously one of the best, nicest skaters in the NHL, and has some tremendous offensive abilities. He had some challenging points last year in terms of his defensive side of the puck. Again, as a 30-year-old veteran on this team, I think he's going to be an important asset for this season. There's a lot of up and coming young defensemen that are going to try to take his seat, as Martin St. Louis likes to call him. He has trade value, which could come into mix, especially if the Canadiens are not really in it during the playoffs, near the trading deadline to make the playoffs. So we can see a trade potentially. Again, it'll all depend on the progression of Lane Hudson, who is forecasted or projected to be the long-term offensive defenseman on this team. That being said, I mean, it's hard to find a guy from Quebec, from Pointe Claire, I believe, or Dorval, somewhere on the West Island, that can speak French, that, played midget AAA with the Lac St. Louis Lions, my alma mater area, and played in that area. So, if it works out, and he has another tremendous season, it'll only be good for the Canadiens. I think there'll probably be a bit of a step back from last season, just again due to less time on the power play. He needs to probably figure out how to. I mean, he's pretty veteran at this point, but he still puts a lot of risk in his game, and I think that's part of his game. I don't hate it, but as you kind of get to the point where you're trying to win hockey games, a player of his caliber, his skating ability, should learn to, figure out how to basically play a more solid defensive game. Talking about solid defensive games, I'll kind of roll over to David Savard. David Savard is just, a pro. I don't believe, obviously, doesn't have very much offensive, doesn't bring a lot from an offensive perspective to the game. But from a defensive perspective, everyone knows blocking shots, just leadership, solid, makes very few defensive mistakes. Just a solid player who can help any team. He probably belongs in the fourth defenseman, maybe fifth or sixth defenseman on a Stanley Cup team. But from a Canadiens perspective, where they're at, there's probably no better asset to have on this team. He is on an expiring contract. The likelihood that he gets traded at the trading deadline is not low. Again, it'll depend on if the Canadiens are battling for a playoff spot. Again, and he's also somebody that would probably want to re-sign with Montreal if Montreal want to keep him. Again, they have a lot of young defensemen, uh, only two or three that shoot on the right side. You have Mayu and Reinbacher and Barron, I guess, that are currently in the mix, as well as Bogdan over there in Russia. Shoot right-handed, and then you have a bunch that are left-handed as well that are kind of fighting, to make the team. So I love David Savard. I think he's going to be a key asset for this season. I think everyone understands what he brings to the table. Just a solid defenseman that brings leadership, character, and everything you need from a defenseman to win games. And the last guy we're going to talk about today is Arbor Jacki. Arbor is has a lot of talent. He's a skilled defenseman. He could be an offensive defenseman, has a ridiculous shot. I believe it was last year or the year before he put the shot through the net. And he has a solid offensive skill set that he can bring to the table. He's obviously a very strong and aggressive defenseman who hits hard. He's still young. Last season was his second year, and you could see he was making some defensive mistakes, I guess you can call it. He's learning, like every young defenseman does. It takes a little longer to develop as a defenseman, and he's developing at the NHL level. I believe he'll take another step this year, and actually, bring that level of consistency from a defensive perspective. He'll also probably surprise a few people from an offensive perspective, just getting more opportunities depending on who he plays with. He's likely to fall into the third pairing slot after Lane Hutson probably is slated to play with David Savard. But again, this player could play on the power play. He can do some great things offensively, and he's a very solid defenseman. Obviously, he also drops the gloves and has won a few battles in that way too. He's been in the doghouse a little bit for Martin St. Louis. I think Martin's trying to make him be a little bit more disciplined when it comes to fighting those battles. We'll see how it all plays out this year. There's a lot of defensemen that are fighting for spots. Struble and Barron are existing experienced defensemen that are trying to win spots, as well as Reinbacher, Mayu, and Hudson, as well as Engstrom. And so we'll see how it all plays out, but I'm looking forward to watching these four defensemen that we mentioned today play a whole lot of minutes in the NHL. That's it for today. I'm looking forward to watching the Flyers and Canadiens first game. Looks like we'll see Lane Hutson playing in that game alongside David Savard, and there's a few others that are going to be joining him. So Laney is going to play. Patrick Laney is going to play as well. So looking forward to that. For now, that's it for today. That was Next Shift with Rick Wagan.